Hey, this is Sensei Ford at the Kaizen Dojo, and we have the great honor and pleasure of having Kung Fu Master John Ozuna with us today. Sensei Sifu.
It's so wonderful to be here.
Thank you so much for coming by. This is the first time we've actually met. We knew each other through Facebook, but this is the first time that we've actually met in person. Master Ozuna was happened to be in town for a meeting, and he says, "Hey, can I stop by your dojo?" And I'm like, "Yeah, this is a great opportunity. Do you mind being interviewed?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." So here we are for your entertainment and philosophical pleasure. So,
Perfect.
Tell us a little bit about your style. You do White Tiger Kung Fu.
It's a system of martial arts called Bak Fu Do, and it is a White Tiger Kung Fu system.
Okay.
It's eclectic, so it has a Kempo base,
Okay.
but it also has both Northern and Southern style Chinese Kung Fu systems,
Okay.
Okinawan karate, as well as Korean Taekwondo. So
Interesting.
they've really tried to take the best of these systems and styles and combine them into one cohesive style. The founder of the system is my teacher, Grandmaster Richard Lee, and he's up in the North Bay.
He's still around.
Absolutely.
Still practicing.
He always is part of martial arts every single day.
Okay. He founded the style in like 1960.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So this goes back in the 1960s. His background is of both Ed Parker and Tracy Kempo.
Oh, well, that's a name I haven't heard in a while. Tracy Kempo.
Exactly.
They used to have a big chain of schools
he
all
did.
over.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Interesting. And how did you get involved in the martial arts?
My first experience of martial arts was, I had to be about 6, 7 years old. It was an after-school judo program, and my brother and I both participated in that. And it was fantastic, but we were 2 children in an all-adults class, and I was being tossed around like a beach ball.
Right.
So we're kind of thinking, you know what, let's go ahead and wait a little bit, see what else happens. I've taken, then at age 12, 13 years old, I started Bak Fu Do, and have ever since. In the meantime, have also studied Yoshimura's Jiu-Jitsu from my former teacher, Grandmaster Lara from Bolivia. I have studied and continue to study Chen Chen Pai Kung Fu. My teacher is Grandmaster Huang out of Baltimore, Maryland. And Tianxin Pai is just simply, it's a northern style Kung Fu system from the province of Tianjin in China. So I've dabbled a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. Much like all of us, sort of
Absolutely.
cross-trained. And at what point did you realize that you wanted to be an instructor?
It's something that I pursued early on. So very early on, my teacher recognized something in me where he felt that I had that potential. So from about a year's worth of training forward, I've participated in the instructor training program. But there was one thing that solidified it, and that was one of the students that came through the school challenged me, but not in the traditional sense, not in what you would think. She challenged me in the ability whether I would be able to teach her or not. She has cerebral palsy, and she simply came into the school and said, "I bet you can't teach me. Everybody else has turned me down up to this point, and I bet you won't teach me." And I said, "It would be my honor to teach you. Would you want to?" And she agreed, and we started this amazing teacher-student relationship where she was able to find her balance, build her strength and her stability, and able to do things that doctors said she would never be able to do. That solidified it. That was really the aha moment, which was the indicator of, you know what, you're doing the right thing for the right reason.
Tell me a little bit about your school. I know it's called KO, and it doesn't mean knockout.
I think most people would think that would mean knockout. And KO Kung Fu, I started back in 1989 with a good friend by the name of David Kirby. So when we went through the process of naming the school, and I said, why don't we call it KO? Kirby Ozuna Kung Fu Karate School.
Okay.
And he goes, why? I said, otherwise, if we turn that around, it'll just be okay. And I don't see a lot of people rushing to get there.
It's a bit of a marketing challenge. Maybe,
Exactly.
you know? Yeah.
We had to think about everything.
Yeah, you might work on that, you know. What is it about your school? I mean, I know that that you have a very strong kids program, you know. What do you think makes your school unique?
You know, much like yourself, you're providing a safe haven.
Mm-hmm.
You're providing an environment of education. You're providing opportunities for people to challenge themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You're also doing it in a way that's not so critical of them, where you're pointing out each and every flaw and things that they need to obviously work on, but also rewarding them with what they're doing absolutely correct and saying, you know what, okay, that's exactly it. Fantastic. It's nurturing, and you know, I've had a lot of instances where I've had former students, after not seeing them for a decade, a couple decades, come back and say, thank you. Thank you for the time that you spent with me, because of that, because it's just the base training and the philosophy that goes into it and the principles of it. I was able to achieve these wonderful things in my life. I was able to be the husband I want to be, the father I want to be, and it's really enriched my life, therefore enriched everybody that was connected to that person. So much like yourself, it's very much a family environment, and it's very, for lack of a better way of seeing it, it's kind of a martial arts loving environment, and that's what you want.
What's your philosophy of martial arts?
I will always be a student of martial arts, like we're all students of life. Until our last breath, there's always an opportunity to learn something new. So
that, you know, my best teachers are my students, you know, and I learn something new from each and every one of them, from the 3-year-old to, you know, the lady who's, you know, 62 years old.
Absolutely.
I learn from all of them, and you know, the old saying is, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. In my case, well, when the teacher was ready, the students will appear.
Absolutely.
So, and it's absolutely true, you know, and the students are the teachers, really. If you really, you know, I know there are a lot of instructors who feel like it's their students' privilege to have them as like, well, I'm their master, and you know, they should be, you know, and it's like, well, no, you got it wrong.
Exactly.
You know, we are the ones who are truly privileged and honored to be able to teach these kids, you know, and their parents are trusting us to teach them, and it's like, that is a huge honor.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly, because that's our approach at my school. I rarely say my school. I always say our school, and because it truly is, and you know, every person that walks into my school rather, is you know, becomes a just very intricate part of the complete puzzle, and you know, and it's one of those, and I completely agree with you. It's an honor, it's a privilege, and I'm not saying that because that's the right thing to say in a given scenario. I'm saying it simply because those are the feelings that it produces when you spend that time with that person.
Sure.
And you see the growth, and that's. There's nothing better than when somebody finally gets it, and they have that aha moment, and all the diligent work that you've both put into it produces something incredible. That's an amazing feeling.
You've got some outside projects going on now. I think that's part of the reason why you're down here in Torrance today. Tell me about what's going on.
You know, we've done several different projects, and everything from a national award-winning TV documentary that we did, which was called Save Your Life. And it was very specific about how martial arts impacted certain individuals that we profiled in ways that were almost miraculous and quite profound. One of them was one of my students, who Mr. Goldstein, who is a Holocaust survivor. In the times that I worked with him, oh boy, it was haunting, because you know, in going through the process of you know, block combinations, you could see the serial number branded in his forearm. So in that is the history and the journey that he's gone through to be the survivor that he is. And he used martial arts as a way of dealing with the memories of what, the loss of his complete family. Other projects that we've done, I'm currently working on a documentary film called Bridge Angels, and that is about the lives that are taken by those that choose to jump off the Golden Gate Bridge. What I do is I actually patrol the bridge. So I'm part of an organization called Bridge Angels. We patrol the bridge, and anybody that seems despondent, somebody seems uncertain, somebody who might potentially hurt themselves, will intervene. So I've literally gone from just speaking to somebody to literally grabbing them and pulling them off the railings.
Interesting. I got to talk about the Guinness Book of World Records. Okay, so I mean, people who are watching this are going, "What is he going to talk about? The Guinness Book of World Records?" Okay, and that's how I actually first became aware of you. Is I was just doing some research on the internet about I wonder who's got the fastest recorded hands in martial arts. So I just sort of Googled it, and then it took me to YouTube, and and everybody likes to claim that they have the fastest hands in the world, and and so on and so forth. But I mean, the Guinness Book of World Records is sort of a okay, there's some legitimacy there, and you have to kind of pay attention to that, and sure, they have their criteria, and I mean, a lot of people have certainly probably shot their own videos and said, "I want to be in the Guinness Book of World Records."
I've seen that.
And I've actually heard people say, "Well, I have the world's fastest hands," but it's unofficial, of course, which translated means is you don't.
Exactly right.
But you actually broke the record, held the record, and it's recorded in the Guinness Book of World Records, and you actually are in there twice. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Could you tell me about that? And I mean, we want to know, and I also want to know how.
I knew the question was going to come up.
And how you trained for it, and just share with me that experience if you don't mind.
It had always been a dream of mine. Back in the day where my brother and I would always get the latest issue of the Guinness Book of World Records,
Okay.
and we would look up things that were just so unique, and I thought, wow, wouldn't it be just the most amazing thing to be a part of this at some point in time? Now, the only reason I've ever considered doing it was just simply to bring attention to a child safety program event that we had. So we had this large event, and it was televised, and we had local news media there. And I said, let's do something special that's going to draw people to this event. And I remember I was at my home with my daughter, and we were chit-chatting about it, and I just kind of said, let me try to break a couple records. And she goes, "Daddy," she calls me Poppy. She goes, "Poppy," she goes, "that sounds great, give it a try." It was an educational experience, by far, because it's so much, it sounds easier than what it is. And there are two records. One would be for the most punches in a minute, which wound up being 713 punches in a minute. And the other would be the fastest punch delivered. Now, the fastest punch, to give you an idea, I want to say Mayweather has one of the fastest punches, and he's clocked at about 26 miles per hour. I was able to do 43.3 miles per hour for just a basic, like a jab, like a regular boxing punch. The education that went into this, I was tested and studied and monitored by physicists from Stanford University Biomotion Lab. I was hooked up completely so they can measure how I was doing this, so I can do it most efficiently. I was recorded by IBM Research Center and scientists through there. And it was actually recorded by the same camera that's used from NASA to record the space shuttle when it launches, and to see how it breaks up, so they can study that and see where the stress points are on a launch. So all of that was involved in quantifying the record, because Guinness wouldn't accept anything less than that.
Got it.
Yeah, and so it was, for me, it was just an educational journey. The training that took place, it was about 6 months worth of training to prepare for that, and it had to be to a point where my breathing had to be most efficient. I had to be in a complete relaxed state to be in order to be fast, you've got to be absolutely relaxed. And the execution has to be precise. So there were so many factors involved. And again, it was nothing more than just to bring attention to a child safety program. That's the only reason why I did it.
Interesting. And they have a certain criteria that you need to meet, but they also say, okay, this is acceptable. So let's say the target is here. Your fist can be this far away or however far away it was. And as long as it's meeting these criteria and you pass that, then it's completely valid.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, they definitely had a list of A criteria. And for both, it had to be a quantifiable punch. So in other words, each punch had to have intention, execution, and retraction on each punch. Now the punches themselves were more of what they would be considered to be like a Wing Chun style punch versus a basic karate punch.
Yeah.
So it was more of a rolling in a circular type motion when I did it. So, and that lended to being able to do it much faster, and even to be able to make it possible to even break it.
Well, I've seen the video, and I've talked to other people who've seen the video, and then some people are like, well, but he's just doing this pancake thing, I can do that, I mean, we punch from way back here,
Exactly.
and it's like, but come on, guys, I mean,
Exactly.
The thing is that it's still, he met the criteria, he broke the record by Guinness's own criteria, so it's like it's completely valid because it's there,
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people who are, I mean, you're going to get that.
There always will be. I mean, there really is. And I even had one guy call me out on YouTube, and I never knew about it, And I had actually had one of my instructors came up to me and said, "There's a guy challenging you on YouTube." So I looked at his video, and he just went on and on and on and said, "Yeah, this Master John Ozuna, I'm so much faster than he is. Watch this. I'll deliver the fastest punches. Keep an eye on me. Watch this." He executed some punches. You see, way faster than this John Ozuna. He mentioned my name about 6 or 7 times.
That was free PR for you.
Yeah, I was going to say, hey, it's nice. Thank you for doing that. And my philosophy is, records are made to be broken.
Sure.
And if it means that next person's been motivated to bring their ability in martial arts and challenge themselves in a way that they feel that they can take it to that next level, go for it.
Great.
Absolutely, go for it. It'll make you better at what you do, and if that's all that came of it, wonderful. That's great. Records are made to be broken.
Of course. Very cool. And very inspirational. I have one more question.
Absolutely.
Last question. I have a good friend named Sifu Rob Moses who's doing a lot of interesting work with physics, and he's kind of an inventor. He came up in the praying mantis style, but just a great guy. And he says, something that you should ask your guest is always just ask him this one question, just so that we can get a nice variety of answers. But if you could share one thing and one thing only with the world to make the world a safer place, what would it be? I mean, be it a technique or a mindset or something, some secret. What would it be? What would you share with the world? You have one thing to share that hopefully can make the world a safer place. Perhaps for you, perhaps for your students, or perhaps for anybody who hears the message.
That's an amazing question, and I think a lot of people that are ever asked that question with our experiences, there's a multitude of ways of answering that. I've always guided my students in approaching their lives, with open hands and a willingness to learn. And not do this. And if you can be like this, then you can see the world in a more global perspective. And you could see that we're all human beings. When you peel the layers off people's geography, where they live, whether it be California or whether it be Munich, Germany, when you peel back the layers of their faith, You know, and I know that tends to be a touchy subject, but even what they believe in, when you peel back the layers of, you know, of their just approach on life, when you peel back all those layers, when you're down to an essence of a person, then it becomes very obvious that we're all connected, and that we all can communicate, even though we have different languages and different cultures and different ways of expressing ourselves, then we can talk. And then that in itself, just having a greater awareness of self and others in that same way, that would make the world, I know it sounds grandiose, but a better place. But it really would, because it really would bring some insight to a person who may have not allowed themselves to, and have always approached life, oh, wait a minute, hold on, you know, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I've always told my students that in order for me to be the best teacher, I've also have to be the best student. And that's always been my approach in martial arts and my approach in life. You know, yes, things are scary. Yes, things are unknown. But unless you push those feelings aside and just close your eyes, grit your teeth, and just kind of go for it, you'll never know the beauty of what's out there. And that's the amazing thing. So that's how I would answer that.
Nice. Sifu, thanks so much for coming out.
The pleasure's mine.
Thanks for spending time
with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
William for the Kaizen Dojo. Thanks so much for watching.